Hello and welcome. My name is Randy Peterson for House of Frankie. I'm here at the House of Frankie HQ in Milan, and I'm with a man who doesn't really need an introduction. House music royalty right here. Super DJ, producer, remixer, Louie Vega. Thanks for coming, Louie.
Oh man, I'm happy to be here, man. This is a wonderful thing you're doing here.
Oh, great stuff. Thanks for dropping by. I'm just going to touch base with you first, just on your music and the stunning album you brought out just over a year ago, Louie Vega 28. Could you tell us the reaction and the feedback you've been getting for the past year on the LP?
Well, I had the pleasure of working with such great artists on that album. Jocelyn Brown, Monique Bingham, B.B. Winans, George Clinton, and the Elements of Life family. Leroy Burgess. It was just the cream of the crop of the history of dance music to me. You know what I mean? So I had a lot of help. I had a lot of good help, and for me, it was really wonderful that everybody really appreciated and embraced the album. Especially getting nominated for Grammy for Best Electronic Album was a big deal because it was the first time house music ever got that far to have an entire album nominated. It was a real kind of wake-up call to all of us because I think everybody needs to believe that our music can reach those heights and further. You know what I mean? And those doors are open now. So I'm hoping that a lot of other producers are going to start creating albums and really take steps out of the ordinary when they're making their music.
Okay. And you also brought out some unreleased and remix tracks from the album. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And are there any more to come?
Well, when you make an album, you don't just do 28 songs. If it's 28 songs, you probably do 50 or 60. And I had a lot of tracks that never made it on the album, or just good tracks that could be played at clubs. DJs I think who really get into them, or just somebody who is a fan of the music. So I thought it was best to put out a third part of the album. It was a 3-album, 3-vinyl pack, and it had all unreleased material. Also just sparked up a new idea too. When I went out to Amsterdam, I said, let me do a 5-pack vinyl of all unreleased material. Because, I make a lot of music in the studio, and when I make music, there could be 10, 12 tracks a week, and I only use 3 of them, you know what I mean? So I have a lot left over and a lot of good pieces. So I thought, let me put out a 5-pack vinyl of 10 unreleased songs, and it was a hit. People were really into it, and from Amsterdam, which was in October, there was a big demand for it for the people who weren't able to be in Amsterdam too, because it sold out. So now I'm doing it in Phonica on January 3rd in London, and I made more of the 5-packs to bring out to London, and I'm going to play a live all vinyl set at the record store. I think that's what it's about. It's about being creative and coming up with things like that. I think that the fans really love it, and I noticed that the streaming live thing is so huge. So I could be playing at a record store for 100 people, but 100,000 people are watching it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna want to get the music too. So I think it's a real good thing, and we have all these great outlets like what you have here to be able to expose our music to the masses, and I think we should take advantage of that.
Sure, no problem. I mean, was there anyone you would like to have worked with on that album, but you couldn't actually sort of get it going for some reason?
On the album, I pretty much worked with a lot of who I wanted to work with. I would love to have Stevie Wonder on there. Big dreams. But, I think that, nothing's impossible these days. Now I'm working on a project for Luther Vandross. When he did the Never Too Much album, he had 2 songs that he recorded that never came out. So they brought me the songs, and I went in and did my thing to them, and it sounds like if he sang it yesterday. It sounds really wonderful. So I thought one of the songs, I said, you know what, this song, it needs like a rhythm guitar, man. I said, why don't we get Nile Rodgers to play on it? And I asked my friend Fonzie, who is the one who hired me to do this project with Legacy Records at Sony, he said, well, it's not impossible because I used to be in the group Chic. He was in the group Chic, and he called Nile Rodgers, and Nile Rodgers said, I would love to do it. And we had a long talk on the phone. It was great. So, you know, I think that you can dream, but you can also work hard to make them happen and never think that they could be impossible.
Sure, I can understand that. So, Louie, you've been nominated for a Grammy. In 2006, I do believe you won a Grammy for the Curtis Mayfield track you remixed, Superfly. And you've been nominated quite a few times after. This year, you've been nominated for, I do believe it's, Best Remixed Recording for Loleatta Holloway's track, Can't Let You Go. I mean, could you tell us the process, the lead up to sort of doing that remix? And if you have a memory of Loleatta, the great disco diva vocalist.
Of course, I have amazing memories with her. I've seen her perform many times, and we did a show together in Tokyo. It was at a club called La Guerra, and it was Jocelyn Brown, Loleatta Holloway, Wumi, myself DJing, and you know, it was an amazing party. And I got a chance to really talk to her at that time, and very close friend, Loleatta's partner was Yvonne Turner, and Yvonne Turner is a producer and that I looked up to for many years. I mean, she's done many great records. She's worked with Willie Colon. Oh goodness, so many great artists, and you know, she's made a lot of club hits. You know, the big records in the Paradise Garage era and the Zanzibar era. So she reached out to me and about last year, and she said, Louie, I have this track that I recorded with Loleatta Holloway. I produced a song for her, you know, and we never put it out. You know, it's been sitting there. It was never released. So she said, you know, I would love for it to be on Vega Records, and I'm sure if Loleatta was here, she would definitely want it to be with you, you know, and you could do the right thing for it. So I said, oh man, let me hear the song. And I heard it, and her production was amazing, you know. And I said, well, let me do a remix on it too, so I could give it another, you know, flavor and stuff for the clubs. And the next thing you know, we, my label manager, Zuleika Martins, you know, she submits our music to the Grammys and stuff, and it made it, you know, to the Grammys, which was wonderful. But I got to thank Yvonne Turner because she believed in myself and Vega Records and our family to be able to release this song and do right by it. You know, I also had Richard Wilson, who's an artist from the UK, paint a huge mural of Loleatta Holloway, and it actually became the cover of the record. So, you know, we went all out and really tried to represent in the right way for Loleatta and bring her out in properly. You know, but this Grammy nomination is icing on the cake, you know, because I didn't expect it. I mean, you know, this is, I mean, I made it my remix is a pure underground sound. So for that to make it to the Grammys, it's already a winner for me.
Well, good luck with that, Louie. I hope you win it. I really do. I think we all do, actually. We all want you to win that. All the house music.
Well, you know, we're getting ready, man. You know, we're gonna get new suits, and Annie's gonna get a new dress. Everybody's coming out, you know, Josh Milan, Yvonne Turner, you know, my son, like we're all going to the Grammys because it's in New York City. Yeah. So it's gonna be in Madison Square Garden, and the ceremony where they have the remixes and a lot of other categories, because they can't do them all at night. They can only do about, I believe, 15 of them or something like that, or 10 of them. Okay. And but there's a lot more. So they do it during the day too, and it's going to be at Madison Square Garden, Paramount Theater. Cool. Okay. So it's going to be really nice, wonderful place.
That, definitely listen out for that.
All right, man, we cross our fingers, man, knock on wood.
Definitely.
But you know, it's great to be nominated, man. Just for that song to get that far, you know, I did it just for the clubs. I did it for our dancers. That's what I did it for, you know. So I'm really proud of it.
Wonderful stuff, great stuff, Louie. Louie, I'm just going to touch base with you. You know, at the moment you're considered as one of the biggest house music performers in the world. You were born in the Bronx. You come from a family of musicians and artists. Could you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and how you was able to become a DJ?
Well, you know, I'm from the Bronx. I came at a time when Africa Bambaataa, Jazzy J, Red Alert, Africa Islam were throwing jams down in the projects. My sisters went to the Loft and the Paradise Garage, the Gallery, Zanzibar. They went to all the discos, Studio 54 even, and they taught me a lot about underground dance music because you didn't hear it on the radio. It was this wonderful fusion of disco, jazz, world, everything. All these different kinds of records I never heard before, and these avant-garde type of disco records, that I would hear from them. And I got a lot of schooling from them, and a lot of my friends who were DJs. They were older, than me. I wasn't a DJ yet, so I just hung out with guys who were DJs. Friends of mine that were DJs. They would, if one of them was doing weddings and Sweet 16s, so I would help him, carry the records, set up the equipment. And next thing you know, I said, could I borrow 2 crates of your disco records? He had a great disco collection. Sure. So I would take the 2 crates to my house with the turntables and the mixer and practice. I was like 13, 14. So, I've been DJing since about, was it 12, 13? At 12 is when I saw my other neighbor, good friend of mine, his older brother had break beats. And that's where I was listening to a lot of break beats. So, I wanted to do what, Jazzy J was doing. You know what I'm saying? Is I watched him, So I lived in the same neighborhood as Jazzy J. And one day I gave him my tape. And he heard my tape and he took it. But I never heard back from him. But when I used to hear his car, he had a big sound system. And one day he had my music in his car. I said, I know that's not his music. That's my music. And he said he loved playing my tape. So then I started hanging out with them and going to like the Roxy. I was there when Beat Street was made. I was, just a little kid watching all the break dances. So I think I came up just like anybody else. If you, are interested in something and you have ambition, you can make it happen. And that's what I did. I just hung around a lot of people that made music, that played music, and I lived it for many, many years. Until I got to do my own thing.
So you had your first residency at a place called Chez Sensual?
Yes. Well, actually, I did 3 parties at the Chez Sensual. And the great thing about that club, it was the only club in the Bronx that had a Richard Long sound system. And Richard Long was the one that did the sound systems in the Paradise Garage and Zanzibar and many other clubs in New York City. So he only did 1 club in the Bronx, and it was the Chez Sensual, who had a small Richard Long sound system, which sounded amazing. So I did a few parties there. I did 3 parties. And my sister she used to cut hair. She had a hair shop. So we used to sell the tickets out of her shop. You know what I mean? To all the kids, and I started by doing high school parties. So when I did the high school parties, all these kids from the high school parties followed me into the clubs. And that was my crowd that I started with. So it was the kids in my neighborhood. So when I did the Chez Sensual, the 3rd party that I did there was an artist that I brought in her to perform. Her name was Niobe, and she was part of the whole freestyle scene, one of the first freestyle artists that had come out at that time in 1984, I think it was. And when we had her, her manager and her label was Fever Records, and Fever Records was the hip hop club Fever as well. That's where all the greats played, the DJs, Grandmaster Flash, Lovebug Starsky, you name it. Chuck Chill Out, everybody played at this club. And in the hip hop scene, it was the club. It was the club that Debbie Harry went to in the early 80s, when she started, putting rap on her records, inspired with Fab Five Freddy, he brought her up there. So they were opening a dance club, and they said, Louie, we're opening a dance club. It's called the Devil's Nest. And he said, we had it open for a while, we did salsa music, but it's not doing well anymore. So we want to bring this music and this crowd and this style to that club. So that was my first real job in a club. It was at the Devil's Nest.
Was it just house music you were playing, or an eclectic mix of music?
That's when house music first came out. So I was playing an eclectic sound. I was from early 80s electro, music from the Fun House, music from the Paradise Garage, music from the Loft, music from Zanzibar. A combination of all those sounds of these clubs that I went to, and I love the sounds from them. I created my sound with, and also the freestyle sound, which started that freestyle sound which was more like Niobe, groups like Information Society, Noel, the Cover Girls. That all started at the Devil's Nest, you know, and it was just 16-year-olds. I was young too. I mean, you know, we were all teenagers. So I was playing for the teenagers. And,
It's great stuff.
You know, it was great parties. It was amazing. It was a whole scene. You know, they dressed a certain way. They danced a certain way. It was a movement. It was definitely a movement. But I also played a lot of house music because I loved house music from going to the garage in Zanzibar and all that. I started playing house music as well when it first came out on Trax Records, DJ International. You know, all the great labels and all the artists. We had them at the club too, like Mr. Fingers performed there, Robert Owens, Liz Torres. I mean, we had them all, you know, because after the Devil's Nest, I played only 9 months, 85 to 86. Then I went to a club called Heartthrob, which was the old Fun House. Then from a club that I played of 1,000 people, it went to a club of 3,000 people in New York City. And then that was it. I was playing every Friday and Saturday for like 3,000 kids, you know. And I was a kid too. We were all having a great time. But I used to play till 5 in the morning, right? And then with 30, 40 people, I used to go to the Paradise Garage. Yeah, the whole crew, we used to go together right after the club, man, because we had to go hear Larry Levan. That was the inspiration. All Tony Humphries, you know. You know, and a lot of other guys, David Morales, who played at that time, and amazing spaces too. Kenny Carpenter, you know, Frankie Knuckles. You know, Frankie Knuckles when he came to the world, that was a big deal.
It's funny because I was going to ask you a question about Frankie Knuckles. As you know, House of Frankie, our project here is dedicated to Frankie Knuckles, the godfather of house. I mean, what did Frankie mean to you?
And Frankie was our mentor. He was, you know, our teacher. I mean, he's the one who first took this music international and in such a big way, you know, and opened the doors for all of us. So for me, Frankie was everything to us. You know what I mean? He's like our Quincy Jones. He was, you know, he's our Stevie Wonder. You know what I'm saying? Frankie really, he was a humble person. He was sweet. He was family to all of us. He was really a good person. And, you know, he wasn't afraid to open his arms and embrace the youth. You know, he was always trying to help a lot of other young people. Yeah, he always welcomed you in. He gave you advice, and, you know, he would listen to your music, you know. So I mean, you know, he was one of the first ones who broke Masters at Work. Because when we first came out in 1990, which was 27 years ago. I can't believe that. But when we first came out, we brought our music to a few DJs, and it was Frankie Knuckles, Tony Humphries, Junior Vasquez. You know, they were the first ones we used to bring our music to play them in their clubs when we finished making them in the studio. You know, so Frankie was one of the first to break the Masters at Work sound in New York City.
Okay, that's good to hear that. Nice story. So Louie, amongst your solo work, there's the work you've done with Kenny Dope as the Masters at Work. It's been a little while since we've heard some Masters at Work music. All those great songs you made in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, are we going to get anything in 2018?
Yeah, well, the last two songs that I played on the show are Ken Lou.
Wow, okay.
Those are Ken Lou right there. So Kenny and I are definitely, you know, we just worked in the studio 3 days ago. Before I came here, he asked me to come down and play on one of his projects, and we started talking about making more music again and getting together at least, you know, in January 2 or 3 times a week. It's because once we get together, I mean, I got together the other day with him for 2 hours and we did 2 tracks, you know what I mean? It was just, but it's just, you know, it's the inspiration, you know, we're in there. I mean, you know, Kenny has a lot of synthesizers, a lot of great sounds, and when I hear them and I play, it's like, it's just ideas come in. We're together. He makes a beat and I just like go in and or vice versa. I might do something and he'll make a beat around it.
Magic just comes straight back.
It happens, man. I can't explain it, but there is definitely a magic that happens when Kenny and I get together.
Sure, that's great. So, Louie, as well as the 28 album you've been promoting this year, what else have you been doing and what have you been up to in 2017? Collaborations, what places you've been, people you've been working with?
Well, right now, I just finished a single that's coming out with the Martinez brothers. You know, they had asked me to come in and make a record together. We said, let's go in the studio and see, you know, let's just see what happens, you know, whatever. So we went in to do one track and we did like 12 tracks, you know what I mean? So it's become like an album, you know. It's a bigger project than we thought it would be. So you know, we're taking our time with it, but you know, the first single is coming out on January 25th, and it's called Que Paren la Puerta. And it's the Martinez brothers and Louie Vega featuring Hector Lavoe. And Hector Lavoe is my uncle, who was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, salsa singer of all time. You know, so we're really proud of that record because it's like 3 different generations on one record. And we're gonna release it on the 25th of January on Cutting Heads, their label. And we also have remixed by Luciano, which is amazing. He did a great job on the remix. So we're really excited about the project. It's a wonderful package and wonderful, I think, music for, you know, a lot of different, you know, genres to play.
Okay, because I was going to ask you about your plans for 2018. I mean, could you sort of give us a little insight on what you've got, what you got in store?
Yeah. Also, I collaborated on a song with Joseph Capriati for his album, which came out really nice. I really enjoyed working with him. I'm also have a new BB Winans that's coming out. It's called He Promised, which is really a hot record. I'm really excited about that. And I have EOL Sofrito, which is my band. So I created that band, a more compact band. You know, Elements of Life is a big band, and with Elements of Life you have like 14 people. You know, with EOL Sofrito you have 7. So we created this smaller band doing instrumentals, and then we do a couple of vocals at the end. Josh Milan is in the band, you know, officially, so he's part of the family. Luisito Quintero, who plays drums and percussion. We have Gene Perez plays bass. Axel Tosca plays keyboards. And on occasions we bring 1 or 2 other musicians as guests. And our background singers, Ramona Dunlap and Biddy. So, you know, it's a really wonderful project. We have one single out called Upright Love. We have a new one coming out called Sofrito Burnin'. So look out for that, because we're going to be performing in a lot of venues like the Blue Notes and Ronnie Scott's and festivals, you know. So BB King's too, House of Blues, you know, places like that we want to do. And
I know you're going to be playing at Groove Odyssey in February, is that right?
Yes, Groove Odyssey in London on February 10th. Yes, we're going to be there.
Great stuff, that's brilliant. I'm going to ask you one more question, Louie. As you DJ around the world and you're playing so many different venues, what's your equipment of choice? What CDJs, what headphones, what mixers do you prefer to use?
Well, right now I'm using the Model 1 mixer. I really like that mixer. It was designed by Richie Horton, and it's played differently. And it's a wonderful sounding mixer. You know, the filters are amazing, and I have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun with that mixer. And, you know, I use 4 CDJs. I use an isolator as well. On occasions I use an RMX, but not with the Model 1. With the Model 1 I only use, I keep it very simple. It's just a 3-way isolator with the Model 1 and 4 CDJs.
Well, Louie, that's the end of the interview. Thanks for joining us here, and thanks for talking with me. And have a great Christmas. Have a great gig tonight at the Tunnel. And yeah, have a great 2018.
Thank you. Look out for, you know, there's tons of new music coming from Vega Records. Oh, you got to check out Nulu Music. That is Anani's label. The music is super hot. She's got some great music out right now, actually. And also Kenny Dope. Check out Dope Wax. You know, he's got a lot of great music too. I mean, you know, we're all really staying very creative because we're inspired. You know, when we go out and play music for everybody out here, you know, we go back and really get excited and make more music, you know. Especially when I play on my Wednesday nights in Roots. Roots is my party in New York City. and we've been doing it for 13 years now. So every Wednesday is at Cielo in New York City, and that party is very, for me, it inspires me to make a lot of music. Like really, really, it's the dancers, the people, just the vibe, the sound system. I mean, everything about that place and who goes there. It's about the people that go there. We have a lot of dancers. We have a lot of seasoned musical people. So when you play something, they're gonna let you know if they like it or not. And I love that. Yeah.
Louie, thanks again, and have a great time tonight, and have a great Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you.